unless I don't think I'm miscounting, so I'll count on you, Mr. Secretary, but I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:03. And Mr. Secretary, if you could take the roll. And I'm going to take some cough syrup. We may have lost Omar. Omar? Well, I guess I should always have that in front of me. I've gotten so spoiled by
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you get a moment. I was just commenting. I have to tell you, though I hope to, resume similar types of duties, it is nice not being a secretary for a little while, because I'm watching how hard you're working and I'm going. I'm relaxing.
Madam Chair, do you see?
I do.
Okay. We'll start with Gary Alstead, California. Let's see. Mark Raymond is here.
I'm
right?
here.
I see Ted Brown, our vice chair.
Yes.
Joe Brunhart. Josh Chappell. Matt Choco. Kobe Clark. Okay, I thought I saw Sean Dempsey.
I'm present.
Ken Matz.
Did you hear that Sean said he was present?
Yes.
Okay.
And Josh McHose is here. I saw him.
Yep, I'm here.
Yep. Tim McMaster. Nope. Dustin Nana. I am present. Mike Seebeck is present. Ashley Shade. Mary Swim. No. Curry Taylor is present. John Thompson. Nope, not seeing. Okay, and Ms. Harless is here. That gives us 10 primaries. And
Mr. Secretary, Matt Choco has just joined.
You missed me. You
what
also missed me.
was that?
Sean Hickman, Kobe
Yeah.
Clark. I'm the alternate for Washington.
Wait. Hold on. Is Kobe Clark here?
He is not.
Okay. No, I know you're here, Sean. You're the alternate. We call alternates next. But I got you, buddy. Okay. Okay, Matt Choco is here. So that gives us 11 primaries. I see Mr. Casciato, Jim Cavoli, Carolyn Cliff, Luke Enzer, Paul Grindle. Okay, Sean Hickman is present. I see that. Janae LeBlanc. I don't see Chris Lucchini, Daniel Miller, Rachel Nix. Is Starchild here? No, I don't see him here. Wow.
I did send him the link. So I expect he probably will be coming.
All right. Kat Martin, Caleb Newbill, Tim Yo. Not seeing. So, Madam Chair, let's see, with 10 people in the room from here, let me just double check this is correct. Plus Mr. Hickman, we would have 11 votes. Did I miss anyone? I've got Matt Choco.
It seems like some people were having some issues. So I'm sure more people will wander in. I didn't do anything with the link that was different, so I think Zoom might be having a little bit of hiccups.
Yeah, I had no issues getting in. So anyways, I'm gonna add Mr. Hickman to the roll. He'll fill in for Washington, and that will give us 11 total votes.
Okay, thank you very much. I was just reading the chat a little about the difficulties that some people were having. We do have an opportunity for public comment, and I know we're starting to get old hand at this, that this will also be the opportunity for committee members after members of the public had an opportunity to speak if they have some comments that really don't fit in elsewhere in the agenda. So first, are there any non-committee members who wish to address the committee? Okay, seeing none, any committee members that have anything that they would wish to add at this portion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Secretary?
so quickly, because I don't know if you're gonna touch on this or not, but you know, all the drama with the survey when a report has to get done. I'll just say that over the weekend in bylaws, there was a little bit of an attitude of, you know, we'll be a week late. The COC can handle it. And I stressed, I said, hey, you know, they're giving both of us a hard time. They're giving platform and bylaws a hard time. And so we're going to be about a week behind where we are. So I just wanted to point that out. I know you pointed something out on the list today about, you put something on the list today. And so I just want everyone to understand that while we may have a little bit more time, bylaws is pretty much done. And again, we're just a week behind. That's all. Just wanted to point that out.
I'll address that at this portion. It's a good portion. I had a heart-to-heart with both Eric Radsep, because he's in charge of the printing, and Jim Turney, who's just a sweetheart. And I did express to them that please don't take this personally, not you guys, I said to Jim, but I feel like the two committees were being treated differently, that we were being pressured into a deadline, that bylaws wasn't being held to. And we will try our best to get it by the end of the month, but it's my duty to put out the best work product. And if they're giving bylaws an extension, then platform committee should have the same extension. Jim Turney wrote me back very nicely and said, here's the deal. We appreciate you getting us the report as soon as you possibly can. If you don't get it to us by the end of the month, it's going to cost the party more to print it. So it seems like the main issue really wasn't time, but cost. So I thanked him for his consideration on behalf of the committee. And I told him we would do our best to get it to him as early as possible, but we expect not to be penalized if we turn it in at the same time bylaws does. However, as good stewards of the party's assets and things like that, I would encourage the committee to still think of the end of the month as our due date. Our report is going to be much longer than the bylaws committee report, so potentially more expensive for the party. And it's our money, you know, ultimately. It's kind of like the government. The LNC doesn't have any money. It's our money. So I would like us to be as good as stewards as possible, but also, you know, we have to balance doing a good report. From what I understand, the bylaws committee, and this is another good time to bring this up, and Omar can correct me if I'm wrong, but I spoke with Ken, and from what I understand, the bylaws committee only has 5 or 6 proposals. Just we need to
It's
keep
going to be
that.
more than that.
Okay, maybe Ken, maybe I misunderstood Ken. Ken would never mislead me. It could have been my misunderstanding. But how many do you know, Mr. Secretary?
I'd have to bring the bylaws thing up, but we're working on we're wrapping up rationales more or less.
Okay, no
And-
worries. I was
Yeah.
just, it's a lot less than we do. I
Yeah,
think,
we're
Joe.
wrapping up rationales more or less. And I can show you Dr. Moulton's thing here. We're wrapping up rationales, and
We
I would just I'll
don't
just
need
say
to see it.
yeah, I'll just say that we took some things out of the report, which was weird to me. I almost objected to that, just because we wanted to produce a better work product. And again, there were some members of the committee that kind of took an abrasive attitude and said, what deadline? So I'm not saying I took that attitude. I took the
Yeah.
attitude of, hey, this is what we were told on platform. So that's all I'm reporting.
Well, Jim Turney is such a nice guy. I don't want to put him in a bad position. So, you know, let's try our best.
Yeah, no, I don't want to put
Yeah.
Jim down either. I'm not blaming Jim. I'm not blaming
Oh,
anybody.
no. I know that, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Brayman's been patiently raising his hand. So Mr. Brayman?
Yes, I'm first want to start with a question that Curry Taylor has also posed in the chat, which is, do we have survey results?
Okay, good. So now I did have that on the agenda, but I don't mind giving, at least so you all aren't sitting on pins and needles. We do. Survey
May I mention? Yeah.
Survey
Right.
Monkey is a bad little monkey, and it's giving me fits to put together a report that is meaningful, but I finally figured it out. I had to spend like 2.5 hours today spanking that monkey. God, that did not come out right.
That sounds terrible.
Oh
my God.
She said. Playing around with Survey Monkey. I finally do have it down. I know, man. This is going to be a sound clip that goes around the world, I'm sure. I can show you tonight on the screen after we get through the proposals that we still had left hanging, the percentages. I was able to wrangle those into a form I can show you guys. What was being difficult was the comments, which is where the gold is, to be honest with you. But I finally got it figured out. It's going to take me about another couple hours to download it in a way that's readable, but you guys will have a copy of everything tomorrow.
So I don't know when whether it's going to throw things off terribly, but my feeling about the next thing on the agenda, which is this 1-1 proposal that I have offered some wording for. I don't think that I would like to see us spend very much time on that until we know whether or not it was a popular item in the survey. I don't feel we should devote a lot of time to it. My expectation was that it would rise to a fair amount of popularity, but if that's wrong, I don't think we should spend much time on this. There wasn't a lot of need to.
That's fair. And before we start this agenda item, I will pull up those percentages. And if the committee feels it's worthwhile, I could even get those comments downloaded really quick. I could give you the Reader's Digest. It wasn't popular.
Okay.
Madam
But
Chair.
I'd like to show you guys the
Okay.
actual numbers. Star Child.
Yeah, I would like to see all the data from the survey, minus the personal identification stuff from section 1 that you don't want to share. Everything else, please post it to the list as soon as possible.
Tomorrow, it will be posted to the list.
Okay. I feel hampered by not having that information before this meeting if we're going to be making decisions based on
We're
stuff
not.
in the survey of popularity and such.
Again, anyone can postpone anything. I could put my husband on here. I could open the door and call in Wayne to let you know I was cussing at Survey Monkey today. It's not the easiest program to work with. It's very feature rich, but it's a bad monkey. But it will be up to the committee. We could always talk about, there's a lot of things we could talk about tonight. We could talk about rationales. There's a lot of things, but right now the agenda is what it is, but the agenda is always within the control of the committee. So I believe your hand's archival, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brayman, excuse me.
Yes, that is archival. I apologize. I'll get rid of that.
Okay, what I'm going to do, if you could stop sharing one moment, Mr. Secretary, I would like to pull up at least the percentages so you guys can decide if you want to go forward or if you want to postpone until I can get you the comments, because that will be entirely up to you. 1 second. I am.
A question.
Yes,
Or
Star Child.
maybe actually not a question. I would actually prefer to postpone it until after we have the survey data rather than have people influenced by seeing partial data, that I have not had time to look at.
I was already planning tonight on showing everyone the percentages of each proposal. So unless you are making a motion
Okay.
that I not show those percentages tonight, that is my plan.
Well, I'd like to see all the information, but I'm not comfortable making decisions based on popularity without seeing the comments and stuff as well. I haven't even actually finished taking the surveys myself because I wanted to talk to people about the wording and stuff.
Star Child,
and
if there's
get
not a
more feedback
motion on
it.
the floor, if you have a motion to make, please make it. Otherwise, I am going to show Mr. Brayman requested to see those figures, and I'm intending upon putting them on the screen unless you have a motion to make.
I propose to table 1.1 until well, tomorrow at the earliest. I don't know what time tomorrow you're going to get us the information, but we have meetings scheduled for tomorrow and Wednesday, correct?
Yes. Wait, hold
Why
on.
don't-
I don't think it's tomorrow, Wednesday.
Tomorrow,
1
Thursday.
second. It's tomorrow and Thursday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to, I guess, table it until Thursday then. If you think that people are going to be influenced by survey results as far as whether we should consider it or not, because I think that I haven't even gotten to that point in the survey yet. I want to see how the question was presented to people. Because I noticed you had rationales in the survey for what's the problem, why is this a good solution kind of thing. And I don't know if the wording for that one was presented in a way that I feel actually captures what I was trying to do with it. So that would have bearing on my
There was
consideration. how I
no
got to-
rationale put with 1.1 because it had not been considered
Okay.
by the committee.
Okay,
It
well,
was
that's
presented as only a proposal.
that's definitely one factor that could influence people's responses as if they didn't have any information like they did with others about why this change is
We're not
needed.
going to
What's the
have a
argument
debate
here?
back and forth here on something that's not the subject of a motion, Star Child.
No, I'm just stating that if they didn't have that information, then they may have considered it differently than other proposals for which they did have an argument in favor.
Orders of the day.
And let me change your name because right now it looks like Karen Ann Harlos is talking to Karen Ann Harlos, which is kind of disconcerting because of the link. Okay, there is a motion on the floor. It was technically worded incorrectly, but I understood what you meant, so I'll just word it properly. And don't feel bad, Star Child. Everyone uses table improperly.
Okay, postpone that, yeah.
Yes, Star Child has moved to postpone viewing any percentages or any survey data until such time as the complete download of all of the responses received so far has been delivered to the committee. Does that accurately represent?
No, I don't mind you sharing some of the information now. I just don't want us to make decisions based on that partial
You can't
information.
tell people what they can make decisions based upon. So
I,
does-
I thought that Star
What-
Child was moving to postpone consideration of proposal 1.
Yeah,
That's my understanding.
well, originally, I mean,
yeah.
if that is what your motion is, that's not the way it was originally stated. So would you like to restate your motion?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'd like to postpone it till Thursday, but I don't know to what extent it might be relevant to postpone other stuff as well. I'm not sure what all we have on the agenda. I just, if we're going to use the survey data, I'd like to use it in its entirety and not sort of haphazardly. And I have concerns over the rationales as they were presented, but I haven't finished with that. I was hoping we could talk about some of that tonight, but
Star Child, though, okay, I'm trying to focus us. The immediately pending issue at the time you made your motion was I told Mr. Brayman that I would show him percentages from 1.1. You objected to me showing him percentages to that. Now, if your motion has nothing to do with me showing him those percentages, but instead has to do with us making decisions, I'm going to not let you jump ahead. Mr. Brayman had an outstanding request, though you had every right as a committee member to make a motion to ask me not to fulfill his request. But it seems your motion is something different now. And if it is, we can hear your motion, but Mr. Brayman was first, and I'm going to show him that data. Are we on the same page now?
I understand what you're saying. You know, it's not the way I would have handled it, but go ahead if that's what you're saying is parliamentarily correct.
Mr. Secretary?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me put my hand down because
Okay.
I wanted to ask if there was a motion. So I guess there's no motion now, right? Madam
There
Chair?
will be after I show Mr. Brayman the data that he asked for, then I will recognize Star Child for his motion to postpone the first item on the agenda.
When you say show
Okay.
Mr. Raymond, I presume you mean show all of us, correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to stick it up on the screen. I'm just looking here. Zoom is hiding all my screens on me. Preview. Okay. Okay, I'm going to scroll down to, are you all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, because you know how Zoom isn't showing me what I'm showing you guys. That's nice. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down to the very end, which is where the 1.11. I think there was 3 questions on it. Okay, this first one here, question number 51, was I believe it was Star Child's language. And it got 52%. Well, you can read it, but I'm saying this out loud for the record. For anyone who might be listening to this meeting and perhaps blind, can't see the screen for the sight impaired. So I would support this proposal was 52.40%. I would not support is 33.05%. I have no opinion was 14.55%. There probably is comments. SurveyMonkey did really weird here with this 0% for comments. I haven't downloaded all the comments yet. Okay, here is Mr. Brayman's, the shortened one, not the one with all of the healthcare language. That's probably the wrong way to word it, but I think you guys know what I mean. This one had, I would support this proposal, 53.89%. I would not support this proposal, 28.84. I have no opinion, 17.27. And then the third is that, again, I'm calling, the block of presumption of health language. I would not support this proposal. I mean, I would support this proposal, 42.83%. I would not support this proposal, 41.43%. I have no opinion, 15.73. Now, a lot of times in comments, there are suggested cures where people will say, I wouldn't support, but if you change to X, you would get my support. So comments are important. I'm just answering Mr. Brayman's point earlier, but something else I think it's very important for me to show you guys so that percentages make sense.
I'm confused. I thought the first one you showed us was 1.1. That was, you showed us 3 so far, and I thought the first one was 1.1.
Star Child, please do not interrupt. I will explain in one moment. I will recognize you once I explain one more thing. Something that's very important to know when we're considering these percentages is most of the people who answered the survey are not going to be at the convention. I can do various filters and give you guys customized reports of answers of people who say, yes, I've been selected. The green is as a delegate and the blue is as an alternate. But just as an FYI, 76.29% of the respondents say they will not be attending the convention. When it comes to platform, I know there is differing schools of thought that we should only be polling delegates. I don't agree with that because the platform affects everybody, but there are differing schools of thought, and I will get you the data in whatever way each committee member feels most meaningful. I see also that Mr. Cholko had his hand raised, but Star Child, if you would like to repeat your question, please. Star Child.
Sorry, I just muted myself.
Oh, that's okay.
You showed us three graphs. I thought the first one was the 1.1 that, my proposal that's first on the agenda.
It is.
But then there was another one labeled 1.1 that was the third one you showed us.
There were three I showed you because there was your proposal. Then there was the Bremen substitute for your proposal, which is this graph. Then there was the additional lengthy language by Mr. Bremen that we were handling separately, and that is this graph.
Okay, I wasn't clear what was what.
Okay, did that clear it up for you?
I believe so. Yeah, so,
Thank you.
go on.
Mr. Cholko?
For context, are you able to tell us, or it doesn't even have to be the perfect number, but can you tell us approximately what the level of support is for the most and least popular proposals?
Yes, and I would actually like to, unless the committee is going to object, show you guys all of the percentages tonight. But we had some that were over 80%.
And do you know what the lowest was?
I believe the lowest is this last one on 1.1. There was another one that was in the 40s. So the
Okay.
lower ones, which were only a few, were in the 40s. The higher ones were, I think we had at least two that were over 80%. And most of them were between
later,
65 and
Good
75.
information for everyone to hear. So Eric, same question to you, my friend. Why the vice chair position? Easy pickings?
What is that?
I have no idea. What is that? If everyone who's not speaking could please mute. I think somebody might be listening to a meeting at the same time. So now, did that answer your question, Mr. Cholko?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Next up on the agenda was to resume consideration of the Star Child proposal and the Bremen substitute, which was the short language, because we were going to handle that potential addition of the presumption of health language separately. Star Child wanted to make a motion to postpone this agenda item, and I'll now, because we might have forgotten the arguments, I'll now recognize Star Child to make that motion.
Okay, well, I mean, it's maybe a little bit moot. I don't know how much data you have. You can post it all here. I mean, I'd like to see the entire survey in one document that I could scroll through and look at the results. Is that doable?
Not tonight. You will have it tomorrow. Again, we are talking at least several hours of work to put it into a format in which it can be read.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to, see the wording of the questions as well as the along with the response data.
So you're making a motion to postpone agenda items? 1 second here. I believe it's Mr. Secretary, can you pull up the agenda?
Agenda item C.
So you're making a motion to postpone agenda item C till tomorrow night, because you will have the data, you will have the survey data either later tonight or tomorrow morning. Or are you acting to postpone it till Thursday?
I'm just thinking about this and the fact that we don't have much time. If you don't want to have any meetings in May, if we didn't look at these tonight, what would we talk about? I mean, I'd like to talk about, some of the committee process, but I don't know if people are willing to spend committee time on that. You know, I'm concerned about how the survey was handled, frankly. I you know, like I said, I haven't seen everything yet. I'd rather, in some ways, feel more comfortable talking about that as well until after I saw the survey, you know, all the material, but yeah, it's
Child, I
kind of a
will
mess.
allow you to make any kind of motions that you want, but I'm going to give you a piece of unsolicited advice just based upon messages that I've received. I do not believe it is the mood of this committee to continue rehashing the survey. I could be wrong. You have every right to make any kind of motion you want. I'm just letting you, I'm giving you a piece of my perspective.
I'd
that
like
you
to
can
have an
disregard.
open discussion about it. It doesn't have to be immediately, but the real concern I have
Okay,
is,
there's no
is not
motion
just the
pending.
survey.
Star Child, are you making the motion to postpone item C till tomorrow or Thursday, or not making a motion?
I'd like to hear other people's feelings about it, I guess.
You have to make a motion before there's debate.
I move to allow debate.
There's no debate when there's no question, Star Child. So
Isn't what's the parliamentary? Well, let me ask you this, Karen.
Sure.
What's the parliamentary procedure for, you know, to make a motion or just to allow there to be open discussion about something? Is there a way to do that?
Hold on, I'm thinking. There needs to be a pending question even to discuss them informally. Committees already discuss things more informally because they're under small committee rules. And due to the short time frame, you're not going to like this, and you're free to appeal what I'm going to say. But I'm deeming this whole trajectory right now dilatory to the time of the committee. Do you have a motion or do you not have a motion?
Apparently I can't make the motion that I want to make.
You
To
can
allow
make any
discussion, so-
motion. You can make any motion you want, Star Child.
I move to allow open discussion.
That motion is out of order.
Okay, well, that's what I thought you said. That's why I just
Okay.
said that.
Can I give you a suggestion that will get you where you want to go?
Go ahead.
If I were you, I would move to postpone item C until tomorrow's meeting. Boom, and then we can enter discussion
What time tomorrow will we have the information?
in the morning.
Okay. All right. So moved.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to postpone item C until tomorrow's meeting. I have Mr. Cholko and then Mr. Brayman.
Thank you. So my hand was up in case Starchild didn't make the motion, but frankly, so it would be in order to offer an amendment to that motion, right?
Yes, certainly, Mr. Cholko.
Okay, so I would amend that motion to post and change the postponement to Thursday, so there's adequate time to, you know, digest this information. Frankly, if we have a meeting at 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow, basically, you know, that'll give me at best an hour with data tomorrow. So, you know, for me personally, that's better than nothing, but not much better. So I think if we're going to postpone it, we should postpone it until such time as committee members have had some time to work with the data. So I would move to amend that to Thursday.
Mr. Cholko, I have a question for you. If
Yes.
I were to be able to promise to get you all of the data this evening, would you still like to make that motion?
Yeah, I mean, to be
Okay.
frank, it doesn't really do any, that would be very mildly helpful, and that,
Okay.
like, I might be able to look at it when I'm sitting on the toilet in the morning. But, you know, it's
Too much
not gonna do a
information.
whole lot. So no, I'm gonna stick with my amendment.
Okay, so the discussion now is on the motion to amend, which is to amend the postponement to Thursday instead of until tomorrow. Mr. Brayman.
Yes, I would like to speak first in support of both the amendment and the original motion. But yes, I support postponing till Thursday. Just as a point of parliamentary inquiry, if the desire for informal discussion, could that have been accomplished by moving to recess for a little bit? I don't want to throw us into that position, but I'm just wondering if the chair might have wanted to make that suggestion if Star Child really wanted to do that. I wouldn't have
Yeah, certainly a
supported it.
motion to recess is always in order. And what the committee does during its recess is committee's own business, but you can't keep everybody here. Other people might want to walk away and get a drink and, you know.
Yes.
Mr. Seebeck.
Two things. One, Mr. Brown had a comment about the Judicial Committee hearing on Thursday in chat. And I have a question. If this passes, what are we going to do between tonight and tomorrow before Thursday?
Is that an inquiry to me?
Yes.
We would then, tonight, we would look at the percentages and we can start talking about the rationales, and we can start making a plan for how we're going to rank our proposals. Like what weight do we, Mr. Taylor, I'm sure, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I see the way you got to look like, oh no, I just got mentioned. We came up with a formula last time where we took various factors into consideration. The survey, the committee vote, we can pull up the master list of past proposals and you know, start developing our methodology. So there's still plenty that we can do. I'm going to add myself in line here. Mr. Raymond, were you still in line?
No, I am not. I'm sorry.
Okay, I have Mr. Secretary, Mr. Dempsey, then myself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to be brief. I'll be frank, this is a waste of time. And Mr. Brayman asked us to not spend too much time on this, you know, to get to one so that we can get to the survey. I personally would like to not even have a meeting on Thursday. And Mr. Seebeck's question was where I was going, was that we don't have, you know, what are we going to do between now and then? We'll get the information, we'll digest it, we'll move forward. Let's please move forward. I'm not supporting any of this.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Dempsey.
I guess I have a similar sentiment. Just in the interest of expediency, we have kind of an obligation to get through this as quickly as possible. I would argue against the motion and the second motion because I feel like we are letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna speak briefly. We've spent 40 minutes not doing anything. We owe it to the party, and as I was urging you guys, we have a report to write. I'm not going to vote unless it's to cause or break a tie, but I can let you know if it is to cause or break a tie, it will be to cause it to fail. I believe we need to consider these proposals tonight. If the survey data causes us to want to modify them at all, that's what motions to reconsider are for. We could have been done with this and moved on to be looking at percentages. This is what was on the agenda. The first time I heard there was an objection to this was at the meeting. I don't think I'm just saying, please, everyone, we're all here. We need to respect each other's time. We need to respect the Convention Committee Oversight Committee's time, and we need to respect the party's money by getting a report done as soon as possible. That's really all I have to say on this. So is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay, we are now just on the amendment. Is there any objection to the amendment? Remember, nothing gets passed yet. Is there any objection to the amendment to postpone consideration of item C until Thursday?
Yes, objection.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, if
Yeah.
you could take a roll call vote, please.
Yeah, I gotta make 2 ballots, but it's okay. Rachel Nix,
All right, I'm here. Abstain.
abstain, okay. Mark Raymond,
Aye.
Ted Brown,
Nay.
Matt Choco,
This is just on the amendment to change Tuesday to Thursday, right?
Yes, sir.
Then aye.
John Hickman,
Aye.
John Dempsey,
Nay.
Ken Matz,
No.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
Omar Crowe will vote no. Mike Seebeck,
No,
Curry Taylor.
Abstain.
Okay. Did I miss anyone? I missed Star Child. I'm sorry. Star Child.
Oh, I saw something earlier in the chat. Am I seated?
Yes, I missed you. I'm sorry. I didn't put you in the thing. I just noticed it
Okay.
right now.
Okay, I saw something about 12 votes. I thought maybe there was enough regulars in attendance or something.
No.
I vote yes.
Okay. Let me just change that. Yes, and John Thompson is not here. That's what messed me up. Okay. Give me a second here, Madam Chair, to bring this up for everybody. I'm showing 4 in favor, 6 opposed, 2 express abstentions.
Okay, so the amendment does not pass. To answer the point of inquiry in the chat, I do represent one of the parties in Massachusetts. I will not be speaking at the Judicial Committee hearing, and the time of it is earlier than the Platform Committee meeting, so it will not conflict. But even if it did, the Platform Committee is my first priority. Okay, we're back on the original motion to postpone item C until tomorrow. Is there any objection to postponing item C until tomorrow?
rejected.
There is. Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, I'll just okay. This is postponed till time certain. All right, Rachel Nix,
Aye.
Mark Raymond,
Aye.
Ted Brown,
Nay.
Matt Choco,
Abstain.
Sean Hickman,
Abstain.
John Dempsey,
Nay.
Ken Matz,
Abstain.
Josh McHose,
Ooh, Mr. McHose, you were breaking up.
Nay.
there we go. Gotcha. Thank you. Omar Crowe is a nay. Mike Seebeck,
No,
Star Child,
Aye.
Corey Taylor.
Abstain.
Okay, I gotta get rid of Mr. Thompson. All right, did I miss anyone? I've got 12 votes here. Madam Chair, I show 3 in favor, 5 opposed, 4 express abstentions.
Okay, that did not pass. We are on item C. Where we were at on item C is we were on Mr. Brayman's substitute. Now, there was extensive discussion on the list that I want to bring everyone up to speed to where we're at and just try to get a feel for procedurally where everyone wants to go. If you could bring up the agenda, Mr. Secretary. Okay, just to remind everyone, we had Star Child's original proposal, which was to strike out individuals own their bodies and have rights over them that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate, and instead to insert people are not property. Our bodies are, at least in part, ourselves, and no other individual or organization, including government, can ever legitimately claim ownership or sovereignty over your body, and the rest remains the same. We did have extensive debate during which time Mr. Brayman moved a substitute. The substitute, as it reads right now, it did undergo multiple amendments, is both of these add to the title. I neglected to say with the Star Child proposal, changing the title to, I think Star Child, I don't think yours was actually, it was self-autonomy, I think. I think that's a typo on my part.
Yeah, I
but-
was just going to note that, yeah, the title of mine was individual autonomy instead
Individual
of self-ownership.
And did you have individual responsibility in there as well?
No, it was just strike self-ownership and
Okay.
put individual autonomy.
Autonomy. That is my mistake. So the title of the Star Child proposal would be individual autonomy. And I believe it was the same thing with the Bremen substitute. I just was copying and pasting from our platform. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bremen, but I believe you also kept it as individual autonomy and you wanted to add and individual responsibility. Am I correct on that, Mr. Bremen?
I don't remember. I like self-ownership and individual responsibility. I prefer to keep it without
Okay,
adding autonomy.
okay. Then Mr. Bremen's substitute would have added to the title and individual responsibility. And as amended, it would strike individuals own their bodies and have rights over them. And instead insert individuals have the right to control their bodies, and the rest of the platform so far remains the same. There was a motion to strike that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate. That motion to strike failed. On the list, there was an indication of a desire, and it failed, by the way, with 2 yes votes, and the rest were all no's or abstentions.
Point of information.
Just let me explain this and then I'll get your point of information because it may help, but otherwise I'll call on you immediately, Star Child. There was a desire expressed on the list to reconsider whether or not we should retain that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate. The expressed desire, if you could scroll down a little bit, Mr. Secretary. The expressed desire was so that we could eventually get to this language where it says separate Bremen proposal from list, which is a shortened version of the medical presumption of innocence plank. But I had let everyone know that we had already voted down striking that one phrase. And if we want to strike that phrase, it has to be reconsidered. So Star Child, your point of information.
Yeah, I believe that the title that Mark had proposed before was individual autonomy and responsibility. If it had had self-ownership in the title at the time, I might have voted differently because I think that defeats the entire purpose of my proposed amendment to the plank. To talk about self-ownership. That's the language I was trying to get away from. And if we had some votes on Mark's previous language, if I voted in favor of some of it, it was on the basis of that other title, which somehow got mistranscribed. So I object to the mistranscribed title now just being sort of assumed to be the working title. I don't think it is properly the working title at this point.
One moment, point well taken. Mr. Ricuro, could you please check your minutes to see what your records have as the last title?
Madam Chair, can I say that I believe that Star Child is correct in his memory. I apologize for not remembering that carefully now, but I think that he was paying closer attention to the title than I was. And I believe now that he is correct.
Okay. Is there anyone on the committee who believes that Star Child's recollection and Mr. Bremen's concession of his recollection is incorrect? That the title was in fact individual autonomy and individual responsibility?
Madam Chair, that's what I have on the notes.
Okay, you are then correct, Star Child. So where we are at right now is if anyone, I said I would recognize someone first. I said this on the list. If someone who was on the winning side, and I believe the 2 yes votes, which were the losing side, were Star Child and Mr. Brayman. So anyone else could make this motion. If anyone wishes to move to reconsider whether or not to strike that other individuals, it's kind of off the screen, the other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate, now is the time to make that motion to reconsider.
Madam Chair, a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
I never felt that it was important to strike that, except in the context of shortening the overall proposal, as in the proposal from the list. So I don't wish to move to remove that again. That is, I don't wish to make the motion again to remove those words from what we have here, only if we were going to go on and consider the separate proposal from the list. So I would prefer at this point to just leave this proposal as it is without removing those words.
Okay, and a motion to reconsider would always be in order later if it turns out it's something that you would like. If you could please scroll up, Mr. Secretary. Okay, so where we are at now is we are still on either debate amendment of the Brayman substitute. So is there any further debate or amendment of the Brayman substitute? There's two hands raised, but I don't know if they are archival.
No, there.
Mine is.
Okay, would anyone like to speak? Parliamentary wise, just so you know, because this may affect it, if there is no one who wishes to, I'll open the floor to debate or amendment of either the Star Child original or the Brayman substitute, after which point we will vote on whether or not to make the Brayman substitute the primary motion. That is where we are at parliamentary wise.
Could we get the titles corrected on the screen, please?
That is a PDF. So give the secretary one moment. Mr. Cholko.
I forgot what I was, oh yeah, so based on what you were saying right there, if somebody wanted to offer an amendment to Brayman, it needs to happen now. Otherwise, Brayman's going to be considered perfected. Is that right?
Unless it's reconsidered, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Except for, let me give one caveat. You can add to it, but you can't mess with the language that's there now. Mr. Brayman does have, as he still has his presumption of health language that he would like to add at the end, but that's an addition. It's not messing with any of the language that would be passed now, which if at that time he wanted to shorten it to remove that other individuals, groups, whatever, that would require a motion to reconsider. Are there any questions on that?
Yeah, well, where's the current Brayman language? It's not on the screen now.
It's at the
Uh,
What
bottom.
is it?
It is right there where the secretary screen cursor is.
Okay,
It
thank you.
is individuals. It's basically changing the title to individual autonomy. And I believe it was individual responsibility. Mr. Brayman, you let me know, because I distinctly remember us having a conversation as to whether you wanted to repeat that word individual. Mr. Brayman?
I do remember that, and I don't care. Leave it in because it's easier to take it out afterwards.
Well, the secretary had it out.
Yeah, I don't recall that we had individual in there twice.
I'm fine with it. Individual, leave it like this so that there's no more time taken
Okay,
with changing the text.
I almost positive individual was repeated twice, but I'm going to ask the committee, is there any objection to the title being as it is, because Mr. Brayman has accepted it on the screen as individual autonomy and responsibility? If there is an objection, I am going to ask for 3-minute recess in which I am going to review, because I know exactly where it is, the past meeting, because I'm pretty positive individual was repeated. But if Mr. Brayman's fine with it and everyone else in the committee is fine with it, and we don't want to argue about it, that would make everyone very happy, I think. So is there an objection to the title being individual autonomy and responsibility? Mr. Choco, are you objecting?
No, sorry, I'm not.
Okay. All right. So does anyone have any further debate or amendment to the Brayman substitute? Okay, now I'm opening up the floor to debate or amendment on either the Star Child primary motion. Well, primary motion is the wrong word. Primary amendment or Mr. Brayman's substitute.
A point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Choco.
Just to be clear, what you just said there is that they're both open to amendment and discussion.
Correct. Because we've
Okay, I
done
think
them
that's different when
individual.
what,
This is like the one last shot.
okay, so both are now open for amendment.
And discussion. Or
Thank
we
you.
can alternate back and forth between the two. It's just, it seemed like we were.
No, I
winding
don't
down.
care about that. I just wanted to understand
Yes.
what's amendable because I'm considering stuff.
Yes. Mr. Dempsey.
All right. I may be in the minority here, but I gotta say, I feel like both of these are, I would object to. I feel like self-ownership has been a staple of the Libertarian Party for as long as I've been a member. I guess I don't understand the concerns with the language. So, I mean, I won't get on a soapbox about it, but I like it as it is. I don't see there any reason to amend this particular part of the platform. I think it's as libertarian as it gets. And I think we're trying to perfect something that's pretty darn close to perfect and wasting time on more important platform topics. But anyway, that's just me. Maybe I'm glad to see in the comments I'm not the minority, but I will be voting negative on both of these. Thank you.
Mr. Dempsey, just, and this is for everybody else, but I always consider these meetings also an opportunity to educate, even though ultimately you're intending upon voting no on whatever the main motion ends up being. Always consider in your head that you're not going to get your way and one of the two is going to pass. It's like
Thank
an
you.
amendment. So always with amendments, please pardon, I'm not trying to insult anyone's motion. I'm using this because it helps people remember. Always vote for amendments that you think, if the motion should happen to pass, will make it suck less for you. A lot of people don't understand that. They're like, well, I'm going to ultimately vote no. So I'm going to vote no on every amendment without thinking, well, if this passes, would I rather have it with this amendment or without this amendment? This is just an educational thing. I'm, just something to consider.
Great point. Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Yes, hi. So, yeah, of the two motions or the two amendments, I favor Mr. Brayman's more than Star Child's, but I agree with Mr. Dempsey that I don't see any reason to change this. I agree with the self-ownership and with the existing language, though I would put in some of Mr. Brayman's later medical language, but for what we have currently, I would keep what we have currently in the platform. But I would vote for the Brayman substitute to fulfill just what you were saying, Karen Ann, about the getting the better amendment if you have to have an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Star Child.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody here sort of read and thought about my previous explanation of this, but I think that we are ourselves, which is a relationship that actually precedes ownership. Ownership implies a subject and an object. There's an owner, and then there's something that is owned. And so to say a person owns who they are, it's creating an artificial division where no division actually exists. The fact that we are ourselves precedes our ownership of anything else. It applies to creatures that might not have the capacity to be owners, because the concept of ownership would be meaningless to them. Yet, to some degree, the non-aggression principle might still apply. I think this is kind of about asserting the centrality of the non-aggression principle and not muddying the philosophical libertarian waters in terms of support for our philosophy by saying that it somehow stems from self-ownership, because I think that idea creates problems. One being that it implies that that ownership can be transferred, because what kind of ownership can't be transferred? If you really own something, I mean, can you be said to legitimately own something if you can't sell or transfer it to someone else? So that raises questions about people being able to sell themselves into slavery, or governments claiming that people somehow surrendered their ownership of themselves, at least in part, to governments, and all kinds of other things that beg the question. I think we say we are ourselves, and that's like a non-transferable quality, then that puts us on a sounder philosophical basis. So this isn't changing anything about any actual libertarian positions. It's just, yes?
I'm getting some messages that these arguments have already been made and we're moving into dilatory ground. I realize some people weren't at prior meetings, but the recordings are available. I don't like to foreclose people talking. Can you please wrap up your point in 2 minutes or less? Even though I know this ground has been said, I don't want to silence you, but I am getting requests for rulings here.
Well, I see one from Mike Seebeck. We already know how he feels about it, but
Please
I
do
think
not
that,
engage in personalities. I'm getting private texts as well.
okay, well, in any case, I wasn't sure whether everybody present at this meeting was present when I made the argument previously, but it sounded like from some people saying like, well, I don't know why this is, being proposed at all, sort of comments. It made me think that either they didn't hear me say it before or didn't really understand it, because it is kind of a new argument. I haven't heard other people make this specific argument, but I think it is an important one for us. And I think we can, I actually think Mark's amendment is fine, although it's not quite as strong. I mean, I think mine makes the argument more explicit in terms of explaining that people aren't property, but I think his, in some ways is more faithful to the spirit of the existing language, basically saying the same thing, but without asserting the problematic concept of self-ownership. This kind of leaves it open. Somebody could read Mark's language and say, yes, individuals have the right to control their bodies because they own themselves, but it doesn't explicitly say that people own themselves, which is an improvement over our current language, because again, that language could get us into trouble, I think.
Thank you, Starchild. Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw Starchild a bone here, a small one. I do see some of Starchild's points to this in a certain degree. And I think that there is some validity in saying, well, maybe we don't own ourselves because we are ourselves. I understand that possible point of view. However, there's probably 5, 10, 15 different ways you could look at libertarianism and say, this is the way I view the world. We've used the self-ownership language amongst ourselves for so long. That's the language that we're kind of used to, and that's the way we kind of understand the world through that lens, because that's kind of the historical lens that we've used. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the only lens. But here's the problem I have with this proposal, and that is, I believe that the platform should be focused on concrete problems of political issues that we're trying to solve. And I've not heard very many concrete problems that this proposal will solve. I did hear something mentioned about, worrying about people selling themselves into slavery. That might be a concrete problem, but let me ask you this. If that's a problem, can you give me an example of where that's happened? And where we can address that specifically as a problem? And if so, does changing the language from self-ownership to, to individual autonomy type of language fix that? I don't know if it actually does. I'm not convinced in that sense. So I will yield.
May I respond to Curry's question?
Yes, Star Child.
Yeah, so I think that it's not necessarily going to stop bad actors from trying to control other people and treat them like slaves, or necessarily stop people from entering into such contracts. But I think there are, examples of things like that. I mean, signing up for military service might be one kind of mild example of it. Not full slavery, but unlike most jobs, you can't, just quit when you want to without facing possibly severe legal consequences. Arrangements like people going into a term of indentured servitude in order to get help being smuggled into the United States to try to avoid the government's unjust immigration laws could be another example. Somebody could claim, well, there's a valid contract. This person agreed to work for me for the next 10 years or whatever, without pay in exchange for the help getting into the country, whatnot. Governments obviously wouldn't take that claim seriously, but for libertarians, it's more of a legitimate question, like, was there a legitimate contract there? But if we say that people can't, sell themselves into slavery, then that, kind of removes that conflict from a libertarian perspective. So I think there are practical applications of this. And again, I would challenge you to point out where specifically, if my language goes too far, if you point out specifically what's wrong with Mark's language, because it doesn't really, like I said, change the spirit of the plank. It just avoids talking about it in those specific self-ownership terms. But I don't think it's any less forceful or articulate way of defending libertarian ideas for doing so.
Thank you, Star Child. Would anyone else like to speak or a debate or amend, or we would be moving to whether or not to make the Brayman substitute the primary motion? Okay, I already know there is objection to making it the primary motion. Mr. Secretary, if you could please call the roll. What we are voting on is, will the Brayman substitute motion become the primary motion? It doesn't yet adopt it. It will require another vote to adopt it, but it will make it the primary motion, at which point it would be in order for Mr. Brayman to add additional language to the end that deals with the presumption of health issue, or he can do that as an entirely separate item. It depends on how he would like this to appear on the report, if it appears on the report. Are we clear on what we are voting on? Okay, Mr. Secretary, whenever you are ready.
Yes, Rachel next.
No.
Okay. Mark Brayman,
Aye.
Ted Brown,
Aye.
Matt Choco,
Aye.
John Hickman,
Nay.
Sean Dempsey,
Aye.
Ken Matz,
Aye.
Josh McHose.
Aye.
Okay, Omar Okoro votes nay. Mike Seebeck,
No.
Star Child,
Aye.
Curry Taylor.
Abstain.
Okay, did I miss anyone? Madam Chair, I am showing 7 in favor, 4 opposed, and 1 express abstention.
Okay, thank you. The Brayman substitute is now the primary motion. Mr. Brayman, you have a tactical decision to make. I just wanted to make sure that I explain your options. We can move to adopt, leave this as its own separate proposal, no further amendments, move to adopt or not, or at this point, you can add language to it. Can't touch the language that's already there except through a reconsideration, but you can add language to it. So if you don't add it here, that does not stop you from doing a separate proposal to add it. That is a tactical decision for you to make. Mr. Brayman.
Madam Chair, I believe, based on the limited information that you provided on the survey, that it would not be a good idea to add this language right now. Therefore, I will be inclined not to do so. If it's necessary to do a reconsideration based on more complete information about the survey, we can put that off until a later meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brayman. So where we are at then is on the Brayman, which was the substitutes, now the primary motion. The only amendments that are in order are additions. Mr. Cholko.
Well, I don't think it matters now, so I'll put my hand down. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further debate or any additions to the Brayman substitute? Is there any objection to adopting the Brayman substitute?
Yes.
Well, it's the
Object.
primary motion now.
Object.
There is. Okay, whenever you are ready, Mr. Secretary, what we will be voting on is whether or not we will be adopting Mr. Brayman's proposal as the committee's recommendation. To be clear, what it is to strike the title of self-ownership and change it to individual autonomy and responsibility, and to strike the first sentence. That's not correct on the screen, Mr. Secretary. You've deleted a sentence
Which sentence?
about other individuals, groups, and governments can't violate. That
That
got voted, striking that got voted down last meeting.
Wasn't that a separate motion though before?
Madam Chair, this is the main motion here. This was the substitute from right here from the last meeting.
And if you remember, I wrote you that I reviewed the recording, and that sentence of individual, I'm trying to have rights over them that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate. We voted on striking that. The vote was 2-0. There were only, and that's when Star Child dropped off, and he recorded his vote later towards the end of the meeting. That amendment did not pass. What is on my agenda is the correct language. I reviewed the meeting video before this meeting. If you want to pull up the agenda, and then I'll have Mr. Brayman did have a question.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. You're saying that other individuals, groups, and governments
just-
cannot violate.
I just want everyone to, because you and I now are on like this, but I don't think the whole committee is. If you could pull up the agenda.
I've got it. I'm looking. I have it on two screens
Oh,
here.
okay.
You don't see it, but I do.
Okay, I
see
just
what
want to
you're
make sure that
talking about.
everyone, that none of us are, no
Yeah,
committee
me-
member left behind.
Give me a second. So that did not pass is what you're saying. I did not realize that. Maybe I made a mistake there.
Correct. That did not pass. That
Mm.
actually failed quite badly.
Okay, so that is supposed to be a part of the thing.
Correct. So this is now the motion that we will be voting on. Striking self-ownership from the title, renaming it individual autonomy and responsibility. Striking the first sentence. Striking the first phrase, individuals own their bodies. I'm just looking at the two languages, and have rights over them. And instead inserting individuals have the right to control their bodies, and then the rest of the plank remained unchanged. So the plank would read, individuals have the right to control their bodies that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate. Individuals have the freedom and responsibility to decide what they knowingly and voluntarily consume and what risks they accept to their own health, finances, safety, or life. That is what we are voting on. Okay, 2 hands have been raised. Are they parliamentary inquiries?
It's a grammatical point.
Please state it, and I
Yeah,
might grant some leeway here, but I'm keeping this on a very short lease because I had asked, but
Okay.
because it wasn't on
Well,
the screen.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just gonna say what
well,
it is.
yeah, the other language wasn't on the screen before, but when he put in the rest of that sentence, that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate, it makes the entire sentence not flow properly. It should be individuals have a right, not the
Okay,
the right.
gotcha. Put a pin in that.
It doesn't quite work.
I gotcha. Put a pin in that. Mr. Choco, were you, what did
Well,
you
I
have?
want to confirm that that amendments at this time are out of order, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I am making somewhat of an exception for Star Child, and I can be overruled because he has a fair point that all of the language wasn't on the screen.
Now,
I will-
I'm not arguing
Yeah,
against.
no,
that.
I'm explaining to everyone else.
Got it.
But to be fair, all of the language was in the agenda. And it is incumbent, I'm just saying for the future, that all committee members be very, very familiar with the agenda. Because this was on the agenda worded this way. And if there was a grammatical error, this should have been caught before this meeting, but I'm allowing it this time unless I get overruled. I'm asking the committee and Mr. Brayman, is there an objection to changing it to individuals have a right to control their bodies that other individuals, groups, and governments may not violate? Is there any objection to changing the to a?
No objection here.
Okay, looks like there's no objection. So Mr. Secretary, if you could strike out the, so instead of
Yeah.
individuals have the right, it's individuals have a right. And then we will proceed to a vote.
Okay, I was just reviewing the thing. You are absolutely correct, Madam Chair. That failed big time. Okay, for some odd reason, I must have been half awake and missed that.
The only
So
reason
thank
I
you-
remembered was because it failed. It's
Yeah,
it's
thank
such
you
a
very much.
spectacular way that I was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, okay, so let me just note that we're quick correction. And then I'll just put it down here just for the purposes of what we're doing. Nope, go back. I did not mean to do that. Control C, not Control X. Control V and have a right. Individuals have a right. Correct, Madam Chair?
Yes. And whenever you're ready for a roll call.
Yes, I am. I just was waiting for you.
I did state the question.
Okay,
Yes, and then Star Child had just happened to note that grammatical thing, but we are back to the putting of the question.
okay.
This is what we are voting on. Unless anyone is unclear as to what we're voting on, we're going to proceed to a roll call vote.
All right, and I see no hands, so let's get the roll call started. Rachel Nix.
Pass.
Okay, Mark Raymond,
Aye.
Ted Brown,
Nay.
Matt Choco,
Nay.
Sean Hickman,
Nay.
John Dempsey,
Nay.
Ken Matz,
Aye.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
Omar Crow votes nay, Mike Seebeck,
No,
Star Child,
Yes.
Curry Taylor.
Abstain.
Okay, coming back to Rachel Nix.
I will also vote nay.
Okay. Oh, wrong box. All right, Madam Chair, did I miss anyone? This is for the main motion. I show 3 in favor and 8 opposed and 1 express abstention. At 10:22.
And from what I understand, Mr. Brayman has decided not at this time to move any additional language, though he reserves the right to do so at a later point. Because again, I view these committees as an opportunity for education for everyone, including myself. I do want to note a mistake I made earlier that Mr. Brown brought to my attention. A motion to move into informal discussion is in order. I readily admit when I am not correct on something, and I don't want to ever mislead you guys when you are chairing your own committees to go, hey, but in platform committee. So, Star Child, now that we are done with this part of the agenda, if there's some kind of informal discussion that you would like to have, I would like to give you the opportunity to make such a motion if you wish to. I was incorrect in my prior ruling.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know that I have a motion. I'm just, I mean, it's a fait accompli, you know, obviously the survey is already out and everything, but if there were some way to set a precedent, you know, get this right for the future. And just in general terms, I, you know, this isn't just about the platform committee or anything specific that we're dealing with, but I've had a concern for a long time
I'm
with
not
the.
trying to be a jerk to you, but if we want to have informal discussion about everything you're informally discussing right now, you have to have the consent of the rest of the committee, which means you need to make the motion that I'm telling you I was wrong to keep you from making before, to have this informal discussion. You can't just go into the informal
Okay, I thought
discussion.
you were saying we were going there. I didn't know you were saying.
No,
we
no,
have to have a vote
because
to go
you
there.
don't have the consent of the committee.
All right. I'm not sure how to word this motion. I have concerns and I don't know where else they can be discussed. They are concerns pertaining to the operation of this committee, but
I can
it
help you
kind of-
word a motion if you like.
I'm open to suggestions.
Okay, what I think you're trying to do is move into informal discussion regarding concerns over survey methodology.
Not just survey methodology, but really the committee as a whole, you know, holding power and making decisions, you know, not just putting it in the hands of one person.
I kind of
That's a big part of
interpret
it.
that to fall under that. I would interpret that to fall under that.
Okay, but it's not just about the survey. It's more practices, committee practices in general. But certainly
Then
the survey is the obvious, you know, recent prompt for this
then
concern.
here's a
in this
suggested
context.
wording of a motion that to move into informal discussion about committee practices, including the survey.
Sure.
Okay, so Star Child has made a motion to move into informal discussion regarding committee practices, including the survey. Mr. Brown, I am going to ask you, is this debatable? Since you're the one who corrected me here, I can look it up really quick. I don't want to get this wrong.
Someone please say
I
where.
don't know, but I would think it is not.
I would think it would. Hold on one second. Let me look in the tinted pages. Would this be move? I don't even know where this would be. I know it's like considered a form of committee. It's like by committee of the whole and all of that. 1 second. Informal. Crap.
Section
Hold on.
52.
I'm sorry. Mr. Seebeck, were you giving me a citation?
Partially. Section 52 is where it
Yeah, that
starts.
doesn't, a whole section's not gonna help. I'm looking.
I'm looking.
Informal, consider informally? Is that what you're referring to, Mr. Brown?
Basically, yes.
But there's no question we're considering. Wouldn't this be more a question of personal privilege?
It might take me a couple of minutes to find a citation, but I know it's possible to it's true you're not considering a question, but I think it's also possible to have a period of open discussion.
52 is committee of a whole, if that's what I heard.
Yeah, this isn't a committee of the whole, though. It's related concept, though.
Madam Chair, perhaps you could just first see if there's any objection. If there's not, we might be able to save some time here.
Oh, there's strong objection.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
If we entered into informal discussion, how would we leave?
There would be a motion to exit informal discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm considering this a question of personal privilege because everything I'm finding on consider informally has to do with considering an actual motion. Because I consider it a question of personal privilege, I am ruling that it's not debatable. There is objection. So the motion we are going to be voting on is whether or not to enter into a period of informal discussion on committee methodology, including the survey. There is objection, Mr. Ricuro.
You're asking for a roll call?
Yes.
Okay. All right, give me a second here. I got the wrong ballot number. All right, Rachel Nix.
No.
Okay. And Mark Raymond
I'm going to abstain.
and Ted Brown,
Nay.
Matt Choco. And lose Matt. Come back. Sean Hickman.
Abstain.
That was Nate, right?
It was abstain.
Abstain, sorry.
Okay. Sean Dempsey,
Nay.
Ken Matz,
Aye.
Josh McHose,
Nay.
Omar Crowe votes nay. Mike Seebeck,
No,
Starchild,
Aye.
Curry Taylor,
No.
and come back to Matt Choco, who I didn't get a vote for. Matt, you still here?
I am back. I'm gonna abstain because I haven't heard the arguments.
Madam
There
Chair?
was no debate, Mr. Choco.
I'm still gonna abstain because I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
I see it there, but I don't know enough to place a vote. Thank you.
Okay, let me get that correctly on my thing here. All right, if I didn't miss anyone else, Madam Chair, I'm showing 2 in favor, 7 opposed, 3 express abstentions at 10:30.
Okay, so where we are at now on the agenda, if I remember correctly, if I got to give the secretary a moment to I can pull up my copy as well.
You want the agenda, Madam Chair?
Yes,
Okay, you have discussion of the thing.
I believe it was discussion of the thing.
Yeah, report discussion, yeah.
Okay, tomorrow you guys will have the all of the data. I'm asking the committee if at this point, because we do have some guests, we do have people who will be watching this video that might not watch the next one. If there is any objection to me scrolling through the statistics on my screen, and you guys can read the comments and things at your leisure, just so we can get a general sense of a body, percentage wise, which items were popular or not. Is there an objection to me doing that?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, I'm assuming that if there's no objection, I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, well, yeah, if there's no objection, I'll take over sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, I am going to go to the beginning and share my screen, but I want to see if I can keep Zoom from losing all of my other screens. I really detest Zoom sometimes.
I really wish there was a way to do that, Madam Chair, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay, so come on, little Zoom. Let's see here.
Madam Chairman, this is Mr. Brown.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
think I found two relevant sections on having informal discussion when no motion is pending, and one is in section 4,
4331.
and then also 3322, and probably one or two others right in that section.
Okay, thank you very much. I found it in 4331 as well. Okay, all righty. I got everyone still on the screen. So let me move. Why is it? Hold on.
31, 31, 31,
That,
31.
I don't want that. I need to hold on. Let me stop sharing a second. It really just got super confused here. Show all windows. I lost my controls. Mr. Secretary.
Mhm.
Trying to find my Zoom controls.
I'll do something. You want me to share momentarily so that it comes?
No, what I'm going to, yeah. Okay, no, I found it again. Never mind. So new share. I just need to find the survey again. So yeah, Omar, if you could stop. I just need to find where I have the survey on my computer. And I need to hit a new share. Zoom sometimes I think is
Back to you.
right here. Okay. Okay. Y'all should be seeing my terribly cluttered desktop, but you see, I know. Don't judge me, bro. Okay, I know I'm maximizing. I'm embarrassed. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go up to the beginning of the survey here. All right, so the first question I had already discussed with you guys. See here where it says comments. I started working on downloading all the comments. So this is what you're going to get tomorrow for every question, what it's going to look like. I did it for the first few and ran out of time before the meeting. So you will have this section here that will give you the percentages, and then you will have all of the comments like this for every question tomorrow. I see your hand, Mr. Secretary, if you give me just one moment. I believe.
Yeah, that's why I put my hand up, just to get in the queue.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing everybody. So if you end up being in the queue and I haven't called upon you, like cough or something, but just once I just get past this one explanation, then I'll call upon you, Mr. Secretary. This, I believe, is our most popular proposal, which is adding the firearms accessories. In 2020, it was the most popular proposal as well. So, Mr. Secretary.
Oh, okay. Like I said, I was just putting my hand up to be in the queue. I didn't want to interrupt you. And whenever you were going to open the floor to discussion, my question was simple. What format are we going to receive this in?
PDF.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Secretary, because I can't see the hands, can I call upon you I know there's multiple people with their hands raised. Can you please call upon them?
Yeah, sure. Star Child has his hand up right now.
Okay, Star Child.
Thanks. I'm confused because I see my name information in the comments, but I never finished taking the survey and submitted anything.
You apparently did. I can't answer technical questions. And
okay, I don't know how that got submitted because I only got through a few questions and I'd set it aside to finish later. And yeah, I don't know what the deal is there, but I would suggest maybe whatever's in there be deleted for me, and then I'll go back and do the whole thing again. I don't know how else to handle that.
there isn't a way for me to do that. I would suggest you being a committee member, just sharing your comments with the committee. Remember, this is just one data point. We're going to take into many data points. Your name appears in comments multiple times, just so you know.
Yeah, because I started putting it in every single field because apparently that's what was expected of people. That's not what I expected. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about, but people don't want to talk about it. So
Okay, who is next in the queue? Mr. Secretary?
Okay, we have Mr. Brayman and Mr. Dempsey.
Mr. Brayman?
Madam Chair, and Star Child, my understanding, I was telling people that the deadline for the survey was the 24th, which was yesterday. So I'm wondering if the explanation of why Star Child's incomplete survey got bunched in was because of a timeout that took his partial results as far as he had gotten and lumped it in with everything else at the end of the deadline. Is that possible?
No, Mr. Brayman, I did not put in a hard deadline into SurveyMonkey when I
Okay.
was creating it, because I was kind of at the mercy of when headquarters would send it out. And I didn't want to put in,
Okay.
I was assuming they would be able to do it, but what if they couldn't? And like 2 days later, it expired. So no, anyone can go in and
And
take
still
the
not.
survey now. But the email that went out to members is that the deadline was last night. I am not intending upon re-downloading this data. The deadline that was advertised to the members was last night.
Thank you, Matt.
Mr. Dempsey.
Yes, I just wanted to bring attention to, Madam Chair, it's, I guess, a bit of an awkward nature of Star Child's information isn't just random comments, it's his entire address and phone number. I just would be concerned if I were he about that. I don't know if there's a way of just putting a line through that or something before this video or document becomes public tomorrow. I just don't want to dox him unnecessarily.
I'm not concerned about that. I wanted my information to be in there.
Oh,
That's
you
why I
did?
specifically put it in there. But I
Oh,
am
okay.
concerned if I don't get to take the whole survey. I didn't see anything in there about a deadline last night. And I'm confused by your comments, Madam Chair, because it sounded like you first told Mark that there wasn't a hard deadline, and then you mentioned a deadline of last night.
There wasn't a hard technology deadline. You could actually go in right now and take the 2020 survey. There's no hard technology deadline built into SurveyMonkey.
Okay, so I can go in and take the rest of the questions and have them counted.
I'm not re-downloading the data. The email that went out to members and the deadline that is on the website, lp.org, if she followed, I haven't looked, she told me she put it up there. The deadline was last night.
Yes. It's in
And
the email.
I am not re-downloading the data. The data is going to be what I download tonight. And I've already downloaded half of it.
So I could send you something before you finish downloading it?
Send me something personally, or you mean go in and quickly?
Well, either way, really, you know, I could send you something personally. I don't know.
The deadline was last night, Sir Child. That's as clear as I can say it.
Okay, I don't remember seeing that or hearing us discuss it. I thought we had more time. If that's what was put out there, I guess my bad.
There are other hands I see raised.
Yes, Madam Chair, I raised my hand and Star Child could put his down. 'Cause
Okay,
it's still
Mr.
showing up.
Secretary.
I'll just say that maybe possibly the way SurveyMonkey works is it's recording information per question. So as soon as you're done with a question, it may have recorded the answers right then and there. That might be where the technological thing is. And the second thing I'll say is that the email was clear that there was a deadline, quote unquote. Thank you for clarification, Madam Chair, that it's not a technical deadline. It was just a deadline of when you would download the information. Both are the same thing, really. But the email was clear. We've known this. It's been there. And I haven't taken a survey because I'm on the committee. And so I wouldn't wait till today to do it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have their hands raised? Okay, I'm going to move on with so this is, you're going to get a lot of data like this. We're not going to look through these comments right now. I'm just showing you what you get is going to look like. As you can see, I also did it for the next plank of 1.7. This also had an nearly 90% approval. This is the one talking about getting rid of sovereign immunity, another very popular plank. So as you can see, I am very encouraged by the amount of comments. This is more than we normally get. I don't think you'll see any more comments from here on out. I ran out of time. The omissions plank, this is one of the ones, oh my God, there was one less than 40%. This is the omissions plank that I'm going to be paraphrasing, but I think you all will remember that said the party takes no position on whether anarchy or limited government would be better safeguards of our freedoms. I just, after the committee has an opportunity to look at comments, because again, we don't have them right here. Let me go back here a second. I went too fast. There might be a way to cure this, but I can let you guys know that after you guys have had a chance to read all of the comments tomorrow evening, because I don't want to blindside anybody, I am going to be making one of my rare motions that items that got less than 50% support be dropped. It will be up to the committee to vote on it, be dropped or amended, I guess is what I'm trying to say, pursuant to member comments. We have a lot of proposals and we need to respect the delegates' time, but the committee can overrule me. I just don't want you guys to be surprised. The bylaws committee, from what I understand, Mr. Secretary can let me know if I'm wrong, but Mr. Molman told me they have an agreement amongst themselves that anything in their survey, though they are only surveying delegates, that anything under 60%, they are going to drop. I think that's good practice. You guys might disagree.
Madam Chair,
Okay. Yes, Mr. Secretary.
if I can.
Yes.
And then after me, I see Mr. McHose just put his hand up.
Okay.
We kind of have an agreement in place, but we haven't taken any formal action. We're going to have 1 or 2 more meetings, and then that's it. And everything after that's going to be public, like public forum type of meetings, like what we've had, town halls. Well, we already dropped like 2 things from the report just because, we're trying to create the best thing going forward. So to your point, it's a good practice. I was objecting to it, but then after it was explained to me what we were doing, I said, okay, I get it. We're trying to make a better product. And that's something I wanted us to do in the first place here on platform. So I'm not sure how I would respond to your motion tomorrow. I guess I'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that may not be the case, what you just stated from Mr. Molman. We may still keep things as is. But
okay.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know exactly how my motion will be worded because I haven't reviewed all the comments myself as well.
Also, one last thing. We're doing something different than SurveyMonkey. What Ken is doing, and this is why things are, I'll speak to you privately, Madam Chair. We're going to send out an individual link because there was concern about ballot stuffing. I don't want to get into the whole explanation of it. Again, we had a lot of discussion in person, which was really good about in-person meetings, but so everyone's going to get.
Can we please not, we're going to stop. We're not getting into the methodology that the bylaws committee decided on.
Yeah, but that's why bylaws is thinking about doing something like that, because we feel like our information is going to be really clean. At least that's what Ken thinks.
Well,
take that for what it's worth.
I just didn't want you guys to be blindsided. I always try to tell the committee in advance what my thoughts are.
Yes, and Mr. McHose still has his hand up.
Mr. McHose.
Will we be able to see the data and delineate from which members are delegates and are not?
I can do that.
That's what I'm suggesting we do, because I do know that there were a lot of possible people who weren't delegates who submitted their opinions on certain things, and so I think it's kind of important that we see which ones actually have delegate support and which ones are just other submissions, because it could be people that aren't submitted that aren't even actually registered as party members. So
it is indeed possible. If I just can speak to that, I can get you guys that data, and I will on the percentages. My personal opinion, which the committee may not share, is delegates represent the party. I personally do not discount the opinions of non-delegates because not everyone can go, and the platform belongs to everybody. Are there some people who took this survey that aren't even party members? Yes. I doubt it's enough to make a huge difference because the survey, no offense to myself, isn't the most exciting thing to spend a half hour doing. You'd have to be a pretty committed troll, and hats off to any trolls that are that committed. There's like 50 something questions. So obviously though, the committee does have to consider that's possible. Your chair's personal opinion is that's negligible. I saw Star Child raised his hand.
Just a very quick point, not to belabor it, but this is one reason why it's good to be able to identify who's taking the survey.
We've had this debate, Star Child. We're not.
I know I said not to belabor it. I wasn't looking for debate. I was just reminding people that is an advantage of transparency.
That's completely dilatory, Star Child. We are pleased that we've had this more times. We're not going there again. Does anyone else have their hand raised? Don't see any.
Sorry, I don't see any, Madam Chair.
Is there
sorry.
anything in comments, Mr. Secretary? I'm kind of counting on you to be my eyes.
No, I'm actually typing some stuff and we're just talking about, it's just chit chat, yeah.
All right. The space exploration. I know there's some discussion and I will stick it on the agenda about the title. 74%, I'm going to round up 74%. That's higher support. We had the same plank in 2020. I'm going to try to dig out. I could probably download it still from SurveyMonkey. I'd be very curious. If my memory serves me correctly, this has got more support this time than it did last time. That's because space is, I think, becoming more and more of a timely issue. Divide, free trade, and migration. 60%. We'll see what the comments have to say. I have to say that surprises me. All right, here we go to the amend free trade and migration. This question 13, this is striking the word unreasonably. 53%. We will see what the comments say. I can tell you on this from my personal experience, convention goers tend to be more radical than your average party member. That when I'm going to make a prediction that when I download the data, the people who said they're going to be delegates, this support is going to greatly jump. But it's up to the committee then to decide what to do with that information. Moving the plank had more support, but not over 60%. Okay, securing liberty. I believe that is the one I'll be getting you guys. You'll have the language in front of you when I send you this data tomorrow as well. I don't like the way these reports are formatted. I can pull up if you guys want the 3-column one, but I believe this is the one where we talked about the word pestilence, the pestilence plank. I know the word pestilence isn't in there, but I believe it's that plank. Internal security and individual rights. It was one of those two. I know it was section 3, over 80%. So we did have some super popular ones. Okay. This one is in the one that added the bookend of the non-aggression principle to omissions. This is something that was proposed in 2020 and it nowhere near had this much support. Wow. So this is a change, a huge change. Here's the personal relationships one, in which the gender autonomy language was put into 59%. Marketplace freedom had a lot of support. Healthcare one had a lot of support. There were two healthcare planks, if you remember. Both of them had, one had over 80% and one had just, they both had, one had right around 80%. Something we may wish to consider, when you're looking at a plank that we amended twice and both proposals are at 80% approval, we probably are going to want to consider combining those proposals because obviously they're both popular and would probably pass rather than having to worry about one tanking the other. Amend self-determination. This is the so-called secession language, 69.15. Amending national defense. This is removing sufficient, just about 66%. International affairs, just over 70%. Parental rights, about 66%. We had several for national defense. I'm forgetting what each of them are, but this is giving you a general feel for, I think, our proposals. Agorism, less than 60%. Here's expression and communication. I can tell you that because when I was playing with the report, it landed on this plank for some reason. There were a lot of very interesting comments in this one, with a lot of them basically saying something like, it's about time. And that had close to 80%. Representative government, that when we spent a lot of time on, 86.17%. So time well spent, committee, I think. Adult rights and responsibility, 82%. Good job, Mr. Brayman. And then we already went over the self-ownership ones at the end here. The last one was government finance and spending, over 70%. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. So as we can see, most of our proposals clustered between 65 and 75%. But there are some outliers that were particularly low. After I review comments, again, so as not to surprise the committee, I will be making some motions to drop some proposals. I will not vote on those motions, even if it is to cause or break a tie. It's just to keep things going with the committee. You all, it's your committee. You could do what you like. Mr. Secretary.
Okay, Madam Chair, I think that I don't know, maybe I'm reading the room incorrectly, but I'm going to try something. Seeing how it's 10:55, I'd like to move to extend for 10 minutes, just in case there's more questions or things that are going to come up.
Okay, there's a motion to extend for 10 minutes for discussion of the item we're on, which is report methodology, which includes survey data. Is there any objection?
I'll
to
second.
Object.
I'll second that.
Objection.
Okay.
Withdrawn, Madam Chair, withdrawn.
Is there any objection to Mr. Secretary withdrawing his motion? Seeing none, we will move on. Star Child.
Yeah, speaking of it being our committee, one of the concerns I had, Madam Chair, was that in inviting questions in the survey introduction, you just listed your name and contact info, but I think that people who responded to that and sent you questions or comments about the survey directly rather than entering them into the survey, I think the committee should also be entitled to see that data. I think really that information should have gone to our list or something where we would all see it. But since it did not, you didn't set it up that way. I'm specifically requesting that you share that data, anything anybody sent you.
People who wrote me, I don't have their consent, and I am not sharing people's emails to me without consent.
Well, I would ask you to write them back and ask if it's okay to share, because really that it should have been a committee email address with those questions going to all of us. This is one of my
There
concerns.
were not questions, Star Child. You can believe me or not. Most of them were technical issues that they had to do with the survey. The ones that were questions, I did forward to the list, such as the gentleman who asked about why we did not add selective service or the draft.
So you're telling us that the only ones you won't share are ones that were technical?
Most of them had to do with technical. Ones that were questions about our work, I forwarded to the committee, or because I don't want to mistakenly say something. There were other questions that were like, specifically, someone said to me, how come you guys didn't pass a plank on abortion? I responded to that person and said, there is a plank on abortion in our platform, and referred them to 1.5. And they wrote me back and said, thank you. There were multiple questions where people were confused, thinking we were writing the platform. Like they didn't understand that there were other planks. And there were multiple questions like that. I referred, I had a gentleman say, how come you guys didn't propose something opposing torture? I sent them the language where we oppose torture that was presented in 2020. Those were the types of questions I got. The rest were technical. The ones where I thought they were actual, like I was mistaken on the draft, I was like, because I looked for it to respond to this gentleman the same way. And then I forwarded it to the committee. And I think it was Mr. Taylor that pointed out that what does it say? Compulsory service or something like that. It is addressed just in a way that I couldn't find it. But
I don't have
anything
any
that was
reason
a
to.
committee question, I forwarded to the committee.
I don't have any reason to disbelieve you, Karen Ann, but procedurally, this is awful. This is the kind of thing that concerns me, because it's putting too much trust and power in one individual.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Brayman has his hands up.
Mr.
It's
Brayman.
time.
If I may just say, I want to thank Karen Ann for constructing a beautiful survey while she was suffering from COVID. And I am very impressed and surprised actually by how many people responded to it. I did get some comments from some people on the state committee in New York that it was too long and that they weren't going to finish it because of that. And so I was worried that there was going to be a very low response rate. But overall, I think we did quite well. I'm very impressed that we have some real data to work with here. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Brayman. We are now at adjournment time, pending a motion to extend time. The orders of the day will be to adjourn. You all, I'm going to try to get you the data tonight. I'm gonna work on that immediately after this, but to be honest with you, I'm gonna spend a few hours with my husband first. We're gonna watch an episode of The Handmaid's Tale, by the way. We're catching up. And we will, but I will try to get you the data tonight, or the latest will be tomorrow morning. I thank you all for your work. I'm going to end the recording. In case any committee members want to stick around and discuss, I'll leave the room open. However, I can't stay. I have promised my husband that we would have some time. So I don't want to foreclose, though, if anyone wishes to hang out and talk. I'll come back upstairs in about a half an hour and shut down the room. So I'll leave the room open, and I thank all of you guys, and you look forward in your email box to the survey. I see.
Go spank that monkey.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Thank you, everyone. And not only will it be in your email box, I will provide you guys a link to where it's uploaded so that you can share the survey results with other party members easily. So there will be a group. Yes, Star Child.
Are you?
But hold on, we are adjourned. I want to just.
Are you sending it to us in PDF form where you can see the whole?
Yes.
Survey, and will we have to fish around somewhere else to find the corresponding questions?